Now, you might be wondering, sir, 0 naman to. So, bakit kailangan pa natin siyang i-multiply dito sa ano? Sa 2 out of 17. Pwede bang ito na lang siya? 2 out of 7, number of ways we choose 2 non-defective laptops out of 17 over number of ways we choose 2 laptops out of 20. Okay? Actually, tama yun. You can actually, tawag ito, you can actually ignore this one. Okay? Kasi, since wala naman na kayong pipiliin dun sa, dun sa defective side Or dun sa, sa defective side. So, you don't really need it. But, we still place it here. Okay? For, number one, consistency. And later on, napakita ko rin na even if hindi nyo siya tanggalin, it will turn out to be 1. So therefore, ang lalabas talaga dyan is itong number of ways we choose 2 non-defective laptops out of 17 over the number of ways we choose 2 laptops out of 20. Okay? So here, we put this into again, into a mathematical expression using combination. Okay? So number of ways we choose 0 defective laptops out of 3. So that is 3 combination 0. Okay? 3 combination 0. While ito, number of ways we choose 2 non-defective laptops out of 17. That's 17 combination 2. Okay, divided by number of ways we choose 2 laptops out of 20. So that's 20 combination 2. Okay? So, choosing a defective, choosing all non-defective. Okay? Last one is the probability of you, of the school, choosing all defective laptops. Okay? So again, yung denominator natin, still ito pa rin siya. It's the number of ways we choose 2 laptops out of 20. Okay? Now, since we will be sa kamalas-malasan, we will be choosing or ang mapupunta sa ating na mabibili natin ay mga defective na laptops. We will have to count the number of ways. Okay, we choose 2 defective laptops out of 3. Okay? Times the number of ways we choose 0 non-defective laptop out of 17. Out of 17. Okay? So again, since 0 naman ito, wala naman na kayong pipiliin dyan. Pwede nyo na actually i-ignore ito. Okay? So the probability is actually the number of ways we choose 2 defective laptops out of 3 divided by the number of ways we choose 2 laptops out of 20. Okay? But again, for consistency, at saka ito yun nga yung gusto ko kasing pakita mamaya. Okay? We will have to put it there pa rin. Okay? So, putting it in a formula, okay? So we will have 3 combination 2 times 17 combination 0, okay, divided by 20 combination 2. Okay? So if you will keenly observe yung mga formula na nakuha natin. Okay? And relate it actually to the values that your x can assume. Again, your x can assume, okay, if x is a variable that represents the number of defective the school buys, okay, then your x can assume values of 0, 1, and 2. Okay? So, kung mapansin nyo, choosing a defective, parang, x equals 1. While choosing all non-defective, that's your random variable assuming a value of 0. While here, the probability of you choosing all defective laptops, That's your random variable x, assuming a value of 2. Okay? So, 0, 1, 2. Okay? So, ngayon, pansinin natin na ito at saka to. Yung hinighlight ko dito. Okay? So, same thing dito, ito, which is this one and this one. Okay? Yun yung mga nagbabago. Okay? And those are actually related dun sa dun sa x natin. Okay? So, pansinin nyo na this one is actually related here. Okay? This one is related here. Okay? And this one is related here. Okay? But, since the school would only buy 2 laptops, okay? Dapat yung total, okay, nito at saka nito, dapat 2 lang. Okay? So, either isang defective, isang non-defective, dalawang non-defective o kaya dalawang defective yung mabili niya. So, if this is actually, or if this is actually would denote x, okay, this number would actually denote x, okay, this number should denote 2 minus x, okay. So, and of course, this number, okay, and everything else is fixed na. Okay. So, therefore, again, para makapagsulat ako ng probability distribution para dito, I need the function f of x. Okay. And in this case, it seems na yung f of x ko, okay, pansinin nyo itong tatlong formula na to. Okay. So, yung mga hinighlight ko yan yung mga papalitan natin ng x at saka ng 2 minus x. Okay. So, we have here your f of x as 3 combination x, okay, multiplied to 17 combination 2 minus x, 2 minus x, okay, divided by divided by 20 combination 2. So, ito yung f of x, or this is the expression that I would like to write for my probability distribution. And take note that this f of x is actually equal to the probability that your x or your random variable x would assume a value of x. So, if x is 0, so yung mga x dito, papalitan natin ng 0. Okay, ito, papalitan natin mga 0 yan. Okay, so let's do that. So, if x is 0, okay, then f of 0, which is equal to the probability that your random variable would assume a value of 0, okay, is equal to 3 combination 0. This represents the case na x equals 0 na case represents the school acquires all non-defective laptops. Okay? So, you'll have 3 combination 0 multiplied to 17 combination 2 minus 0. So, this is 2. Okay? Divided by 20 combination 2. Okay? Okay, so that's the case when x is equal to 0. Now, when x is equal to 1, okay, and this represents the case when the school acquires 1 defective laptop and 1 non-defective laptop. Okay? So, that is that probability is represented by f of 1. Okay, which is f of 1, which is the probability, or which is equal to the probability of your random variable x assuming a value of 1. Okay, so that is 3 combination 1 17 combination 2 minus 1. Okay? So that is 1. Okay? And then 20 combination 2. Okay? And then finally, when we let x to be 2, okay, which represents now the case that your school acquires 2 defective laptops. Okay? So it acquires all defective laptops. Okay? Then that probability is represented by f of 2, which is equal to the probability of your random variable x assuming a value of 2. So which is now equal to 3 combination 2 multiplied to 17 combination 0. Okay, kasi that's 2 minus 0. I mean 2 minus 2. Okay. So divided by 20 combination 2. Okay. Now let's compute these probabilities, no? Okay. So una, ito yung pino-point out ko kanina that you can actually, itong 3 combination 0 to can actually be removed from here. Okay? Because 3 combination 0 is actually 1. Okay, so this is actually 1. So ito lang yung kukumpute nyo. 17 combination 2 divided by 20 combination 2. Okay. So, yun. Same thing with 17 combination 0. Okay. So 1 lang kasi siya. Okay. So that is why hindi natin siya tinanggal dito. We did not remove those factors here. Okay, kasi ganoon din naman. Okay, dahil magiging 1 din naman siya. Okay, so let's compute now the values. Okay. So let's have 3 combination, meron x lang. Okay, multiplied to 17 combination ng 2 minus alpha x, okay, divided by 20 combination 2. Okay, so let's calculate this when x is 0. So that gives us 68 over 95. Okay, and when x is 1, that should give us 51 over 190. Okay, and when x is 2, that gives us 3 over 90. 3 over 190. Okay. So, first, this one, okay, this thing, okay, gives you the probability distribution of your random variable x. So this is the probability distribution of discrete random variable x. Okay? Again, may formula siya kasi. So that is why yung formula ang tatawagin nating probability distribution. Okay? Yan din yung probability mass function. Okay? So yan din yun. Okay? Since may formula tayo na ginamit to obtain the probabilities, okay? And that function, okay, is a function of x, where x is the values that would be assumed by your random variable. Okay? And f of x would equal the probability. Okay? Would equal the probability of your random variable assuming a value of x. Okay? That is the probability distribution already. Okay? Pero kung wala tayong formula, okay, and say we tabulated the results. Okay? So meron lang tayong x at saka f of x. Which in this case, we have 0. For x equals 0, f of x is 68 over 95. Okay? for x equals 1, this is 51 over 190. Sorry, 190. Okay. And for x equals 2, this is 3 over 190. Okay. Ito, yung tatawagin nating probability distribution. This is the probability distribution of the discrete random variable x. Okay? So, either ito or ito. Okay? Pero, again, we prefer mostly na may formula tayo. Okay? To serve as our probability distribution. Okay? Now, as per definition, again, the value of f of x should be positive. Okay? So, we can confirm it here. Lahat ng values ng f of x are positive. Okay? Next, the sum of the values of f of x is equal to 1. So, pag in-add natin to, itong mga to, dapat mag-equal to sa 1. Okay? So, that is 68 times 2 plus 51 plus 3 over 190. So, equal siya sa 1. Okay, again, kaya ako ginanto kasi, alam ko na 95 times 2 is 190. Okay, so that is why, i-LCD ko siya at 190. So, i-multiply ko lang ng 2 sa 68. So, therefore, 68 times 2. So, plus 51 plus 3. So, that gives me, over 190, that gives me 1. Okay, and then, finally, yun nga, the values of your f of x gives the probability of your random variable x, assuming a value x. Okay? So, ayun. Yun nga. Okay? So, again, we call this as the probability distribution. Okay? Or this, kung wala tayong makukuhang formula. Okay? So, you might be wondering, ano yung notation ng book natin? Again, sa calculator kasi, that's n combination R. Okay, n combination R. Okay? Sa libro, this is NR. Written as NR. So that is why yung 3 combination 0, okay? Yung 3 combination 0 is written as 3, 0. Okay? And yung 3, 0, or yung 3 combination 0 multiplied to 17 combination 2, okay, divided by 20 combination 2, okay, is written dito, yan, as 3, 0 multiplied to 17, 2, okay, divided by 22. Pero again, pag in-evaluate nyo to sa, sa calculator ninyo, that 3, 0 is evaluated by the expression 3 combination 0. So that's 1. Yung 17, 2 na yan, that's 17 combination 2. That's 136. Okay? So, ayun. Tapos yung ito, yung 20 combination 2, that is 190. So this is 1 times 136. Tama ba? 136 divided by 190. So that is why 136 divided by 190, that is 68 over 95. Okay? So sinusulat ko siya as as this form. Okay? Dahil ito yung nasa calculator. So that is why yun. Okay? So there. Now, let's proceed with example 3.9. Okay, so if a car agency sells 50% of its inventory of a certain foreign car equipped with side airbags, find a formula for the probability distribution of the number of cars with side airbags among the next 4 cars sold by the agency. Okay? So, so the agency sells various cars. Okay? One of which is yung kanilang line of foreign car. Okay? Equipped with side airbags. Okay? So, halimbawa, um, regardless of the different brands and different models sold by the car agency, okay, hatiin lang natin siya sa dalawa. Okay, yung ito, okay, yung let's call it car, let's call this as the car with side airbags. Okay, and car with side airbags. Okay, and cars uh, of non-side airbags. So hati natin siya sa ganong hatian. Okay? So now, um, since we're watching for the next 4 cars sold by the next agency. Pwede natin siyang isipin ng ganito. Yung first car na mabebenta ng agency can either be the one with the side airbag or the one without the side airbag. Okay? So sa next na benta nila, pwedeng may airbag, okay? Pwedeng walang airbag. Okay? So sa makatlo nilang benta, pwedeng may side airbag, pwedeng wala. Non-airbag. Okay? Tapos sa huli, yung pang-apat nilang benta, merong side airbag, pwedeng wala. Yan. The question is, ilan to lahat? Based dito sa magiging code tree ninyo, okay, partial code tree lang kasi ito. Okay, ilan yung magiging parang how many sample points do we have here? Okay, so it will turn out na this is 2, no? Okay, so there are two choices in the first purchase, 2 options in the second purchase. Okay? So, 2 options in the third purchase and then 2 sa fourth. So, yung number of sample points natin can be computed as 2 raised to 4 or 16. Okay? So, ayun. So, ibig sabihin, yung number of ways, okay, that the next 4 cars will be sold, okay, as either may side airbag or walang side airbag, is 16. Okay, so 16 is the number of ways. The next 4 cars will be sold. Yan. Given na meron tayong dalawang option. Yung meron tayong side airbag at saka yung wala tayong side airbag. Okay? So, ayan. So, now next. Since the problem asks for the probability distribution of the number of cars with side airbags, okay, among the next 4 cars. So, we can actually let x, okay, be a random variable. Okay, random variable representing the number of cars with side airbags sold. Okay? Out of 4. Out of next 4. next 4 cars sold. Okay? So, yung X natin would represent the number of cars with side airbags that will be sold out of the next 4 cars sold. Okay? So, which means, maaring sa apat na yon, okay? Maaring sa apat na yon, say for example, sa next 4 sa next 4 cars na mabebenta, maaring wala doon ang CSA or yung may side airbags. Okay? So walang nabentang side airbags. Okay? Or maaring isa sa apat na yon, okay, ay may side airbags. Okay? Or maaring dalawa may side airbags. Or pwede ring tatlo. Okay? May side airbags. Or pwede ring apat na may side airbags. Okay? Ngayon, ang tanong is, what would be the probability, say for example, of your X assuming 0? Ibig sabihin, wala dun sa mga nyo ang mabibentang side airbags. Okay. So ganito muna, no? Mas maganda muna siguro kung yung tanongin mo natin kung merong isa. Okay. So what is the probability that one car out of 4, next 4 is CSA. Okay? So, pansinin niyo mabuti yung pagkaka-state nung probability. Okay? Medyo pareho to nung previous example kanina. Okay? So, which means, if we want to have the probability of one car out of next 4 is CSA, then, again, yung probability na to in general form is N over N. Small n over big N. Okay? Big N here represents the number of ways the next 4 cars will be sold. Okay? At yan yung nalaman natin 16. Okay? This is actually 16. Yan, ito yun. Okay? So there are 16 ways the next 4 cars will be sold. Okay? So therefore, automatic na ang denominator natin is 16. Okay? So, 16. Okay. Now, ano yung small n natin? Okay. Yung small n natin is that dun sa apat na cars, okay, na mabibenta. Halimbawa, isa lang dun yung CSA. Okay? So, meaning out of the 4 cars, okay? Out of the 4 cars, isa lang yung CSA doon. So, we will have the number of ways, okay, CSA, one CSA is chosen, okay, chosen among 4. Okay? So, ayun. So, the probability that you will be choosing or getting one CSA car out of the 4. Okay? 4 cars na meron kayo, okay, or na next na bibilin, okay, would be equal to the number of ways one CSA car, okay, is chosen among 4 cars. Okay, divided by 16. Okay? So, ayun. By the way, baka nagtataka rin kayo, saan ginamit yung 0.5? Because there is something here that, if a car sells 50% of its inventory, okay? So, this fact, ito, was used here. Okay? Since 50%, okay, nung benta nung agency is yung car with side airbags. Okay? That makes it the other that makes it the other models. Okay, the other 50%. Okay, so that is why sabi ko sa inyo kahit anong model pa ito, okay? Pag pinagsama-sama lahat 'yan 50%. Okay, so therefore, dalawa lang yung pagpipilian natin. Okay? So that is why meron tayong car with side airbag tsaka yung car without side airbag. Okay? So doon natin ginamit yung 50% of its inventory. Okay? So again, going back here, so yung probability of choosing one car out of the next four is with side airbags, okay, is equal to the number of ways one car is chosen among four cars, okay, divided by 16. So, number of ways one car or one CSA is chosen among four, okay, is simply, okay, simply 4 combination 1 divided by 16. Yan yung probability na yun. Okay? So, the probability that one car out of the next 4 is CSA. Ngayon, itong 1 na to, palitan natin ng X. Kasi yun yung i-assume na value. So, pwede siyang 0, 1, 2, 3, at saka 4. So, yung 1 na yan, saka yung 1 na to, palitan natin ng X. Okay? And that gives us now the formula, okay, for your f of x. Okay? Which in this case, since ito yung 1 that pertains to the 1 that we have here. Okay? So we will have this to be replaced with 1. With x, I mean. Okay? So your f of x equals 4 combination x, okay, over 16. Okay? For x equals 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 gives the probability distribution. Okay? For your for the number, the probability distribution for the number of CSA or cars with side airbags sold among the next 4 cars sold by the agency. By the way, no, kasama sa probability distribution yung yung mga possible values that your x would assume. So dito nakalimutan ko 'yon. Hindi ko siya na-specify dito. Okay? So dapat sinama ko to sa binax ko. So f of x equals yan, okay? For tanggalin natin to. For your x equals 0, 1, and 2. Okay, that gives you the probability distribution of the discrete random variable x. Okay, same thing here. Your f of x equals 4 combination x over 16. For x equals 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 gives you the probability distribution. Okay, for the number of CSA cars sold or cars with side airbags sold among the next 4 cars sold by the agency. Okay? So, or pwede nyo rin masabihin na ito na kasi nga, nabanggit nyo naman ito. Okay? You can say that this is simply the probability distribution for the discrete random variable x. Okay? Now, you can go on. Okay? You can go on by tabulating, okay, the probabilities, okay, para meron kayong tabulated probability distribution values for this problem. Okay, so this tabulates your x and the probability for each value of x. Okay? So that's for example 3.9. Okay. So now, there are many problems where we may wish to compute the probability that the observed value of a random variable x will be less than or equal to some real number x. Okay? So, dito kasi nagbibilang tayo ng probability against the probability, okay? For example dito, yung probability for a value of x. Okay? Now, sometimes ang gusto natin mangyari is what is the probability that that your random variable x, okay, would assume a value that is, say for example, less than 2. Okay? So, ayun. We would like to know the probability that your x would assume a value that is less than 2. Okay? So, in that case, magagamit natin yung tinatawag nating cumulative distribution function. Okay? So, we will use the notation uppercase f. Okay? So, yung lowercase f is the distribution function, while the uppercase f is the cumulative distribution function, okay, which denotes the probability of your random variable x, assuming a value of x, assuming a value that is less than or equal to x. Okay? So, again, we formally define this as the cumulative distribution function f of x, okay, of a discrete random variable x with a probability distribution f of x is the sum, okay, of the probabilities less than x, less than or equal to x. Okay? So, for example, so going back dun sa sa example 3.2, okay, wherein ito yung probability distribution na nakuha natin from there. If you are to accomplish the table for the cumulative frequency, I mean the cumulative probability distribution, okay, what you would place here is the sum of probabilities for m, the sum of probabilities for m less than or equal to dun sa m dito. Okay? Sum of probabilities for m less than or equal to say m say 0. Okay? Kasi yun yung nakalagay, ito yung m dito eh. At least So across this row, okay? Here at this first cell of the cumulative cumulative probability distribution is the sum of probabilities for m less than or equal to 0. Okay? So in this case, that would be yes. So ayun. The sum probabilities for m less than or equal to 0. Yun yung ilalagay natin sa row na to. Okay. By the way, huwag natin siya labelan na f of m because that would not be our final f of m kasi. Okay. So here dito, ang ilalagay natin dito is the sum of probabilities that is for m less than or equal to 1. Okay, so basically, sinusundan ko lang tong definition ni definition 3.5. Okay. So for each value of m here, we will compute the sum of probabilities. Okay. for m less than or equal to 3. Okay? So here, the sum probabilities for m less than or equal to 0. Ibig sabihin, yung probabilities dito, tsaka yung nauna sa kanya. So in this case, since wala naman nauna sa kanya, so this is 1/3. Okay? While here, the sum probabilities for m less than or equal to 1. So that is 1/2 plus 1/3. So that's 5/6. Okay? And then finally, the sum probabilities for m less than or equal to 3. Okay? That should be equal to 1. Okay? So ngayon, how do we write now the cumulative probability distribution from here? Okay? So hati natin ngayon sa range itong mga to. Okay? That is your m less than 0. Okay? Your m greater than or equal to 0 but less than 1. Okay? So ito yun. Pero less than dito. Okay? Your m greater than or equal to 1. Okay? But less than say 2. Tingnan yung 2. Okay, wala naman yung 2 dyan eh. So, but in this case, itong range na to takes the value from here. Okay? So, next is your m hindi, wala naman pa kasi talaga tayong 2. So, let's direct it to 3. Okay? And your m is greater than or equal to 3. Okay? So, pansinin niyo that in each interval, okay, in each interval, your m is equal to one of this. Okay? And is less than the next one. So, equal siya sa 0 but is less than 1. Okay? So, una, less than 0 siya. Okay? Next is equal siya sa 0 but less than 1. Next is equal siya sa 1 but less than 3. Okay? And next is equal siya sa 3 and greater than 3. So, ito yun. Now, your f of m when m is 0 or when m is less than 0. Okay? So, in this case, since wala namang yung m nyo, ang pinakababang m nyo is 0. Okay? So, the probability when m is less than 0, okay, is equal to 0. So, therefore, the cumulative probability there is equal to 0. Okay? Then, next, for m equal to 0, greater than 0, and less than 1, okay? So, ito yun. Okay, pero hindi siya pwedeng umabot dito sa 1. Okay? So, that is why, for m, okay, for m that is equal to 0, okay, but is less than 1, okay, that probability is 1/3. Okay? Then, next, okay, when m is 1, okay, when m is 1, but is less than 3. So, ibig sabihin, ito yun. Equal siya sa 1, okay, pero hindi siya abot ng 3. Okay? So, yung una, parang ganito. Sakop niya to. Okay? Yan yung m is greater than or equal to 0. Okay? Pero hindi siya abot ng 1. Okay, so that is why 1/3 lang yung natin, yung probability natin. The next is equal siya sa 1. Okay? Equal siya sa 1. Okay? But is less than 3. So the cumulative frequency or the cumulative probability there is 5/6 already. So 5/6. Okay? While when m is greater than or equal to 3, okay? So when m is equal to 3 kasi, the cumulative probability is already 1. Okay? The cumulative probability is already 1. Okay, so kung mas mataas pa siya sa 3, okay, then the more na magiging 1 pa siya lalo. Okay, anyway, the maximum sum, okay, or the sum of the probability, okay, or the maximum value for the probability is 1. So therefore, hanggang 1 lang yung magiging value ng f of m natin. So there. So 0 for m less than 0, 1/3 for m greater than or equal to 0 but less than 1. Okay. 5/6, okay, for m greater than or equal to 1 but less than 3. And 1 na siya for m greater than or equal to 3. Pero again, para makuha nyo itong, ito mga to, okay, para makuha nyo yung mga yan, okay, you simply add the probabilities before, okay, this and before. Okay, you add the probabilities from this cell and before it. Okay, so para makuha nyo itong 5/6, add nyo itong probabilities na to. Okay, para makuha nyo to. So this and before. Okay, so para makuha nyo itong probability dito, okay, you add this and before. Okay, so yun kasi magiging basis ninyo for your f of m. Ang ano lang dito is how you would arrange this intervals. Okay, so that magiging malinaw sa inyo kung ano yung or kung ano yung probability at a certain value of m. Okay, whether it is less than or greater than certain value. Okay, or whether your variable takes on certain values less than or equal to a certain number. So, ayun. One should pay particular notice to the fact that the cumulative distribution function is a monotone, non-decreasing function. When you say monotone, non-decreasing function, it means that monotone means always positive. Okay, non-decreasing, of course, this is increasing. Okay, so we say that your f of m, okay, I mean dito sa sa monotone, always positive slope. Okay, meaning if your function, when you say that a function is monotone function, if it is increasing, nag-increase lang siya. Okay, if it is decreasing, nagdi-decrease lang siya. So monotone yun. Either this or this. Okay? But in this case, your f of m is monotone non-decreasing. So dapat, yung value ng f of m nyo, dapat nag-increase talaga. Okay? So, and here, we will also discover that your f of m is defined not only for the values assumed, okay, by the given random variable, but now for all real numbers. So, ito kasi, lumalabas ngayon na yung f of m ninyo is not simply defined for m equals 0, m equals 1, m equals 3. But rather, it is now defined for all values of m. Okay? Your f of m now is defined, okay, for m from negative infinity up to positive infinity. Okay? So, hindi siya katulad nung probability distribution natin that is simply defined for particular values of m. Okay? In this case, your cumulative distribution function is now defined for all values of m. Okay? So, let's find the cumulative distribution function of the random variable x in example 3.9. Okay? So we go back to the table that we have produced in the previous example. So ito yun. This is yung yung cars with side airbags. Okay? So ito yung nakuha nating probability distribution for that example. Now we will compute the sum of probabilities for x less than equal to 0. This one is the probabilities for x less than equal to 1. Okay? This one is the probability for x less than equal to 2. Sum of probabilities for x less than equal to 3. And then sum of probabilities for x less than equal to 4. Okay? So, these sums are 1 over 16. Okay. Next is 1/4 plus 1/16. Okay, so that's 4/16 over 1/16. That's 5 over 16. Okay. Next is 3/8 plus 5 over 16. So that's times 2, no? 6. 6 plus 5, that's 11 over 16. Okay, next is 1/4 plus 11 over 16. So times 4. So this is 15 over 16. And then finally, we will have 1 over, I mean 1. Okay. So we will now construct the cumulative frequency distribution for this one. Okay, using the variable x instead. Okay. So establish natin yung ano. Let's establish the intervals. Okay. So that is your x is less than 0. Okay. Your x is greater than or equal to 0 but less than 1. Okay. Your x is greater than equal to 1. Okay, but less than 2. Okay. Your x is greater than or equal to 2 but less than 3. Your x is greater than or equal to 3 but less than 4. Okay. And then finally, your x is greater than or equal to 4. Ayan. So, yung probabilities dito, this would be 0, of course. Okay. The probability here is 0. Okay. So, here, this is 1 over, ito na yun, magkakasunod na yan. Okay, so this is 1 over 16. Okay. Next is 5 over 16. Okay. Next is 11 over 16. Okay. Then we have 15 over 16. And then 1. Okay. So this is now the cumulative probability distribution of your random variable x, for example, 3.9. Okay. So this is the cumulative probability distribution for random variable x, where x is the number of cars with side airbags sold among the next 4 cars sold by the agency. Okay. So yun yung cumulative probability distribution. Now there is a sub question here. Okay. We are asked to, using this distribution, using this cumulative probability distribution, verify that f of 2 is equal to 3/8. Verify daw natin na yung f of 2 is equal to 3/8. Okay. So take note na take note that we already know that f of 2 is 3/8. Okay, ito na yun. Okay, so what we will do is to verify using this using this cumulative probability distribution. Okay. So we can verify it this way, no? This is the probability. Actually, this probability, okay, represents the probability, okay, or this number, yung 5 over 6 to, represents the probability that your random variable x would be between or would have a value that is greater than or equal to 1 and less than 2. Okay? So yan yung 5 over 6 natin. 5 over 16 natin. So remember that it represents that that probability. While this one, okay, ito, okay, represents the probability that your x is greater than or equal to 2 and less than 3. So that is 11 over 16. Okay? So ngayon, kung titingnan natin tong set na to, okay, tsaka tong set na to, okay, yung common sa kanila is the value x equals 2. Okay, although ito wala tong this would not assume a value of 2. Okay, while this would assume, okay, kasi yung x ito malapit lang sa 2 pero hindi siya magto 2. Ito naman mag-i-equal sa 2 pero sosobra siya. Okay, so in that case, ayun, sorry, mali pala ako dito. This should be the probability that your x assumes a value that is less than 2. Okay? Or less than or equal to, per definition, okay? The probability that your x assumes a value that is less than or equal to x. Okay? So kung ito, okay, kung ito was this one was obtained, this 5/6 was obtained by adding the probabilities from here and pabalik. Okay, so this 5/6 should represent the probability that your x is or would assume a value that is less than or equal to dapat 1. Okay, 1. Okay, so may kasi ulit sa sa illustration ko. Okay, so wait lang. So yun na nga please do make corrections here. When I compute these probabilities, these are probabilities of your x assuming a value that is less than or equal to this x. So for example, itong 1/16 means the probability that your x is less than or equal to 0. Okay? This 5/16 here is the probability that your x is less than or equal to 1. Okay? Here, 11/16 is the probability that your x is less than or equal to 2. Okay? And so on. Okay? So that's how we interpret these values. Okay? Now, if we are interested in finding the probability, okay, the probability with your x or the probability so if you're trying to find the probability, okay, that your x is equal to 2, okay, we can actually which is now equal to f of 2, no? Okay, the value of your probability distribution function, okay, when x is equal to 2. Okay, so pwede nating interpret yung probability na to in this number line, okay, as this one. So yung probability na yan, okay, that is 5/16, is the probability, itong kulay blue na area na to, okay, we may say na ito yung length nung color blue na line segment na to. Okay, while this one, okay, is the length of this orange line segment. Okay, but take note lang that this line segments originates from x negative infinity hanggang x equals 1. Okay, so ganoon siya kahaba, 5/16. While ito originates from x equals negative infinity hanggang x equals 2. So that's 11/16. Now, if you actually subtract this, okay, pag sinubtract nyo yan, you would be getting this, this segment. Okay? Makukuha natin itong segment na to. Now, the question is, ito, ayan, yung segment na yan. Okay, that excludes 1. Okay? That segment excludes 1, no? But includes 2. Okay? So that segment excludes 1, x equals 1, and excludes 2. Okay? So itong segment ngayon na to, okay, is a difference between 11 over 16 tsaka 5 over 16. So that difference is 11 over 16 and 5 over 16. So that gives us 6 over 16 or 3 over 8. Okay? And that this value actually represents the probability that your x would have a value between would have a value that is greater than 1 and less than or equal to 2. Okay? So magiging 3/8 yan. So yun yung probability na yung x ninyo, okay, would have a value that is greater than 1 and less than or equal to 2. But in this set, okay, sa set na x greater than 1 or your x is greater than 1 and is less than or equal to 2, okay, the only allowable value of x here is actually yung 2. Okay? The only allowable value of x based dun saan natin? Dun sa ating dito, okay? Is 2. Okay? The only allowable value of x is 2. Okay? So therefore, this also represents the probability when your x is equal to 2. That is 3/8. 3/8. And that is also equal to your f of 2. Again, galing dito. Okay, galing dito sa statement na to. Okay. So therefore, we will verify or we can verify that the value of your f of 2 is 3/8. So again, kinuha lang natin siya by interpreting kung ano yung ibig sabihin ng mga values na to na nakukuha natin when we add probabilities or when we form the cumulative probability distribution. Okay? So, ayun. Now, iba to iba tong ito mga range to. Okay? For your probability distribution, cumulative probability distribution for your random variable x is iba, okay? Dun sa probability. Okay? Dun sa probability that is the probability that assumes that your x assumes a certain value. Okay, iba to Okay, it just means na between for x between 0 for x greater than or equal to 0 and less than 1. Okay, your probability climbs up to 1/16. Okay? Meaning, isa sa mga values of x na yan, okay, gave a probability of 1/16. Okay? Gave a probability of 1/16 dun sa nyo. Okay? So, remember na nung kinuha natin itong mga distribution na to, okay, we actually based it on this formula. Okay? Nagbase tayo sa formula na to. Okay? We base it on this formula, on definition 3.5. Okay? So that is again, titingnan niyo mabuti to. The probability of your x assuming a value that is less than or equal to x is the sum of the probabilities, okay? On, at, and before it. Okay? The sum of probabilities at it and before it. Okay, so i-add daw natin yung probabilities dun sa value ng x na yon and yung mga probabilities bago yun. Okay? So yung range ngayon nung f of m niyo, nung cumulative distribution function niyo is actually a different matter. Okay? Which we will use in a later topic. Okay? But again, gusto kong i-interpret niyo yung values ng cumulative distribution function using this definition 3.5. Okay? I would like you to interpret them using this definition. Okay? So, So sometimes it would be helpful to look at probability distribution. Okay? It would be helpful to look at probability distribution in graphic form. Okay? So if we plot, okay, the points x f of x, okay, the ordered pair x f of x, for example 3.9, ito. Pag plot natin ito on a Cartesian plane, that is ito yung x, okay? This is x, tapos ito yung f of x. Okay? We will arrive at a plot, okay, that is similar to this one. Okay? So dito, makikita natin yung mga points natin. That is when x is 0, the probability is 1/16. Okay? So when x is 1, the probability is 4/16. Okay? And so on. Okay? So this is called the probability mass function plot or PMF plot or probability distribution plot. Pwede na yan. We can also call this as the probability distribution plot. And as you can see, the probability distribution plot is a discrete plot. Okay? It is a discrete plot. Okay? It is because yung x natin, okay, consists of discrete values. So since discrete yung values natin, yung plot natin is also discrete. Okay? So this is this would be helpful kapag meron tayong mga dinediagnose about our random variable. Okay? Or meron tayong titingnan about the random variable. Okay? So figure 3.1 makes it easy to see what values of x are most likely to occur. Yun yung mababasa natin sa figure 3.1. So we know that when x is equal to 2, okay, that is the most probable value that your random variable would assume. That is x equals 2. Most probable value that discrete random variable x will assume. Yan, kita siya dito. Okay? Ano pang mababasa natin yan? Okay. We also see a perfectly symmetric situation. Okay? So, yung symmetry kasi of the symmetry of your distribution might indicate something about your data. Okay? Meron sinasabi siya about the data. Okay? So, we'll talk about that later on. Okay? So, now, instead of plotting the individual points, okay, we may construct rectangles. Okay? First, yung center ng rectangle natin is the center of the rectangles point to the values of x. Okay? They point to the values of x. Okay? Tapos we simply make sure that the bases of these rectangles are equal. Okay? So pwedeng bigyan natin siya ng width na 1, for example. So kung naka-center siya sa 0, pwedeng negative 0.5 ito, tapos 0.5 ito. Okay? So that's the width of your rectangle. So yung kasunod naman, yung para sa 1, you will have 0.5 at saka 1.5. Okay? Para sa 2, you'll have 1.5 up to 2.5. Okay? And so on. Okay? So there. Now, so if this is the center, okay, if this is the center, the probability for that particular rectangle is flat. Okay? simula dun sa negative 0.5 hanggang 0.5. Okay? Since the center of this is 0. Okay? And for 0, this now represents your 0, 1/16. So, flat yan sa 1/16. Okay? Ito naman is flat sa 4/16 since the center here is 1. Okay? And the probability for 1 for your 1 occurring is 4/16. Okay? And so on. So this is this one represents 2 6/16. Okay? And so on. Okay? So then bubuuin natin yung rectangle. So we now call this figure as the probability histogram. Yan, we call this now a probability histogram. Okay? So the probability histogram actually is a not really a different way of well, it's different in a sense na iba yung presentation niyo. Okay? But yung dinidescribe nung dalawa, actually pareho lang. Okay? It is just that sometimes the histogram is easier than this plot. Okay, than this discrete plot. Okay? For one thing, mas kita niyo yung symmetry dito. Okay? Mas makikita niyo ng distribution ng symmetry dito kaysa dito. Okay? So, there. So, since each base, okay, since each base in figure 3.2 has a unit width, okay, so, ibig sabihin 1 ito. 1 yung width nito. Okay? The probability actually represents now the area of the rectangle. Okay? So, meaning, yung area nito, okay, for example, since ang width niya, okay, is 1, tapos yung height niya kasi, okay, the height here is 1/16. So, yung area ng rectangle na yan, okay, is equal to 1 times 1/16, which is equal to the probability, okay, that your x or your random variable x would have or would assume a value of 4. Okay, so yun nga yung 1/16. Okay, yung 4 nakuha natin doon sa center ng rectangle. Okay, so yun. So the area represents, okay, so the area represents the probability. Okay, so in the histogram, okay, the area or rectangular areas represent probabilities. Okay, now even if the bases were not of unit width, kung hindi natin magagawa na yung base is unit width, that is 1 yung base natin, you may adjust the heights of the rectangles, okay, so that the area would still represent the probability. Okay, so yun yung priority natin when we are constructing the histogram. Okay, that is, the area of the rectangle should be equal to the probability of your random variable x, assuming a certain value x. Okay, so this concept of using areas to represent probabilities is necessary for our consideration of the probability distribution of a continuous random variable. Okay, now in terms of the cumulative distribution function, again, ang nasabi natin kanina dito is that the cumulative distribution function is monotonically increasing. Okay, it is monotonically increasing. So we expect na the values are increasing. Okay, so for example, in for the cumulative probability distribution of example 3.9. Okay. Ito. Okay. So, nandiyan yung, ano natin, we graph yung f of m. Okay. Sorry, f of x. Okay. For the different ranges, okay, of your x. So, so wala na dito yung ano, no? Yung, your f of x is 0 for x less than 0. Or pwede nyo namang ilagay. Ito pala. Ayun, no? So, ito. That is for x less than 0. Okay. For x greater than or equal to 0 and less than 1. Okay. So, this is for x greater than equal to 0 and less than 1. Okay. Yung value niyan is 1/16. Okay. So, the value of that is 1/16. And then for x equals 1, for x greater than equal to 1, so for x greater than equal to 1 and less than 2, okay, yung value niyan is 5/16. Okay. For x greater than equal to 2 and less than 3, okay, yung value niyan is 11/16 and so on. Okay. So, this is how the discrete cumulative distribution function for the random variable described in example 3.9 looks like. So, again, makita nyo, increasing yan. Okay? So, para siyang staircase na pataas or paakyat. Okay? So, that ends our discussion on discrete probability distributions.